First Maccabees chapter 5. When the surrounding nations heard the altar was repaired and the sanctuary renewed as before, they were extremely angry. So they resolved to kill the race of Jacob who lived among them, and they began to kill and destroy the people. Thus Judas waged war on the sons of Esau in Idumea at Acrabateni, for they were besieging Israel. He struck them a great blow, humbled them, and took spoils from them. He also recalled the evil acts by the sons of Bayan, who trapped and snared the people in ambush out on the roads. He shut them up in their towers and encamped around them, vowing to destroy them. So he set their towers on fire with everyone inside. Then he crossed over against the sons of Ammon and found a strong army and many people, with Timothy as their leader. He fought many battles against them until he struck them down, and they were crushed before him. Then he overpowered Jazer and its villages and came back to Judea. Now the foreigners in Gilead assembled against the Israelites living within their borders to destroy them. But they fled into the fortress of Dithema and sent letters to Judas and his brothers, saying, "The Gentiles have gathered against us and surrounded us to destroy us. They have made ready to come here and overpower the fortress where we have taken refuge, and Timothy is in charge of their army. Now, therefore, come and deliver us from their hand, for many of our men have perished. All our brothers in the region of Tob have been put to death, and they took their wives and children captive, along with their possessions, and they destroyed about 1,000 men there." While their letters were being read, behold, other envoys arrived from Galilee with torn garments and reported similar words, saying that those from Ptolemais, Tyre, Sidon, and all Galilee of the Gentiles had assembled themselves together to destroy us. So when Judas and the people heard these words, a great assembly was gathered to decide what to do for their brothers who were in trouble and were being attacked by adversaries. So Judas told Simon his brother, "Choose men for yourself and go and save your brothers in Galilee, while my brother Jonathan and I go to Gilead." He left Joseph, the son of Zechariah, and Azariah, a leader of the people, with the rest of the army in Judea to guard it. He ordered them, saying, "Take charge of this people, but do not go into battle against the Gentiles until we return." Then 3,000 troops were chosen for Simon to go to Galilee, and 8,000 men for Judas to take to Gilead. Thus Simon went into Galilee and fought many battles with the Gentiles and crushed the Gentiles before him. He chased them to the gates of Ptolemais, and 3,000 Gentiles perished, and he took their spoils. So he took the Israelites of Galilee and Arbada, along with their wives and children and everything they possessed, and brought them with great joy to Judea. Meanwhile, Judas Maccabeus and Jonathan his brother crossed over the Jordan and journeyed 3 full days into the desert. They came upon the Nabateans, who met them peacefully and told them everything that had happened to their brothers in Gilead. Many have been imprisoned in Bozrah and Bosor in Elima, Chospho, Maked, and Carnaim. All these cities were fortified and strong. And some have been imprisoned in the remaining cities of Gilead. Tomorrow your foes will attack the strongholds to destroy and capture all of them in one day. Judas and his forces returned at once to Bozrah by the desert road, and he captured the city, killed all the males by the edge of the sword, took all their spoils, and set the city on fire. He marched from there by night, and they kept going until they reached the fortress of Dithema. Then at daybreak they looked up and beheld many people, too many to count, carrying ladders and engines of war. to take the fortress and strike the Israelites inside. When Judas saw the battle had started, an outcry went up from the city to heaven with trumpets and loud shouts. So he said to his army of men, "Fight today for the sake of our brothers." Then he came up behind them in 3 companies, and they sounded the trumpets and cried aloud in prayer. When Timothy's army saw that they faced Maccabees, they fled before him. He struck them a great blow, and on that day 8,000 of them perished. Judas then made his way to Elima. He waged war and captured it, taking its spoils and setting the city on fire. He marched on from there and captured Chospho, Maked, and Bosor, and the remaining cities of Gilead. Timothy, however, called together more troops and set up camp opposite Raphon across the stream. Judas dispatched soldiers to scout the camp, and they returned to him, saying, "All the foreigners have gathered around us, and a very large army is with him. Further, they have hired Arab mercenaries to help, and they are also camped on the other side of the stream, prepared to come against you in battle." So Judas went out to face them. Timothy told the officers of his army while Judas and his camp drew near the stream, "If he crosses the stream against us first, we will be unable to withstand him, for he is strong enough to defeat us. But if he is frightened and sets up camp across the stream, we will pass over against him and crush him." But as Judas approached the water, he stationed the scribes of the troops near the stream and ordered them, "Do not allow anyone to stay in camp, but make all of them join the battle." So Judas crossed over to meet them first, with all the men behind him. Then all the Gentiles were crushed by them. They dropped their weapons and fled into the sacred regions of Carnaim. So Judas captured the city and set the sacred precinct on fire, along with all those residing there. Thus Carnaim was defeated, for they were not able to stand against Judas. After this, Judas assembled all the Jews living in Gilead, from small to great, along with their wives and children and their possessions, a great entourage, to return to the land of Judah. They came as far as Ephron, an expansive and fortified city on the highway. They could not pass through, either to the right or the left. The only way to go was through the middle of town. But the men of the city closed it off and barricaded the gates with stones. So Judas sent them a peaceful word, saying, "Let us pass through your land to go to our land. No one will harm you. Merely we will come through on foot." But they refused to open to him. So Judas gave orders to proclaim to the troops that each man make a camp where he was. Then the soldiers in the army made camp, and he fought the men of Ephron all day and all night, and the city was given over into his hand. He killed every male with the edge of the sword, destroyed the city completely, and took its spoils. So he passed through the city, stepping over those who were killed. Then they came to the Jordan, crossing over into the great plain facing Beth-shan. And Judas gathered the stragglers and encouraged the men along the way until they entered Judah. They marched up to Mount Zion and sacrificed whole burnt offerings, and offered whole burnt offerings with joy and gladness of heart, because not one of them was lost before they returned home in peace. While Judas and Jonathan had been in Gilead, and Simeon his brother was in Galilee facing Ptolemais, Joseph, the son of Zacharias and Azariah, officers of the army, got word of their courageous acts and the victorious battles they fought. They spoke, saying, "Let us make a name for ourselves as well, and take on the Gentiles who live around us." Thus they gave a command to those from the army with them, and they marched to Jamnia. But Gorgias and his army went out from the city to face them in battle. and Joseph and Azariah were routed and chased as far as the boundaries of Judea. That day, about 2,000 men of Israel perished. It was a great defeat for the people, for expecting to act heroically, they did not follow the orders of Judas and his brothers, and they did not belong to the seed of those men through whom Israel received the gift of deliverance. So Judas and his brothers were honored greatly throughout all Israel, and even by the Gentiles, where their name was being heard. People assembled around them and gave them praise. Then Judas went out with his brothers and fought the sons of Esau in the land to the south, and attacked Hebron and its towns, and pulled down its many fortresses, and set on fire its towers round about. He also marched into the country of the Philistines, and then on to Marissa. Some priests that day who wanted to show their courage perished in battle, for they went out to fight recklessly. But Judas turned aside to Azotus, the country of the Philistines. He destroyed their altars, set the carved idols of their gods on fire, and took spoils in the cities. Then he came back to the land of Judah.